kampuksena koko maailma.
Hi there. In this exercise, I'll go through some really basics of Photoshop color corrections. So I'm not going into any kind of detail, just basically show you how to remove a color cast. The file you need is in Moodle. Okay, let's start working. I'll open the file. It's in my desktop. It's winter. And the quality of this photo is not that good, but it doesn't matter. I just chose this picture in purpose because this is not so simple. As you know, the light and everything changes from hour to hour in Finnish winter. Before Christmas, it's often very gloomy. It's dark, and when we come close to the spring, you get more sunlight, you get more warmth. So you can kind of do 10 different kinds of color corrections in this picture, and they all right. So there's no just one right color correction here. So I'm just zooming in a little bit to get a better view on the picture, and already I see that our picture is in background mode. So I'll just right click here and take layer from background and name it as original. Let's take a couple more. So right click again and then duplicate layer, and let's take auto correction. Let's take another duplicate, manual correction, and one more. Let's take duplicate and manual correction, adjustment layers, just like that. And now I'll just close the eye on all the others but auto correction. So, and I'm also selecting the layer. I'm not purist in that way that everything has to be done by hand all the time. If you get a nice result, what you wish on just using the algorithms on Photoshop, then it's fine. So let's use them. So image, you have auto tone, auto contrast, auto color. So I just auto tone, it removes the color cast. Auto contrast, it works with the brightness and contrast of the file. And image auto color, it corrects the color according to the algorithm. So it's like this. And if you want a photo like this, then it's fine. But this doesn't work in all the photos, and quite often you want something else than this kind of neutral thing. That's why it's kind of useful to know how to do things also manually. And I'll just go through some really basics. I'll just open the eye on manual correction and click that layer open. So I'm not going into details because color correction is really like an art form on its own, and it takes really lots of work and lots of practice to be good in color correction. So we'll just stick to the basics. So we can do it two ways. I can do it from here, image adjustments, or I can use the adjustments layers here on top of the layers window. So let's start with the selections first. So let's go to the image adjustments and start with levels. The way the RGB bitmaps and all the RGB color works is their color is based on black and white. If R, G and B red, green and blue, they are all 0, the color is black. If they are all 255, the color is pure white. And all the other colors get between those kind of 0 and 255. And basically correcting the color cast, for example in this picture it's blue, I'll just have to tell the Photoshop that in this light this area is black, in this light this area is white. So when my kind of 0 and maximum are okay, then all the mid tones between them, they also right. That's also the basics of video camera white balance and for example basic all the camera white balances. So you tell the camera that in this light this one is white, in this light this one is black. So correct the color that way. In this levels tool you can see there's my histogram, and you can see there's this thing there on the black with lots of, it's like a short straw there going up. Otherwise this looks okay. So I can see the all colors, and or I can see the different colors separately. So as you can see, if you look at the red, it's missing quite a lot from the dark reds. Also if I take the green, it's little more to the right, but it's still missing quite a lot. And blue is kind of over selected, so you have quite a lot of bright blue colors there. So what we're going to do is I can just take the black sample eyedropper there and go into the picture and select what I think is the blackest area in the picture. I just click here, it corrects it, and then I'll just take the white sample eyedropper, and what is the brightest area in this picture, I just click somewhere else like that. Then I don't have to use the gray area, I can use the gray triangle there in the middle to change the shade darker or lighter. That's how you do it. If you want to be more precise, I'll show you just one nice tip. Basically you can do it like this, and this is fine. If you want to get more detailed, I'll just press cancel here and go to another tool. So image adjustments and threshold. Threshold is really nice kind of extra tool to get your black and white spot just on in the right place. So I just take this one, and threshold is just a small window here. It shows the pixels that are on the right side of this gray triangle here. So if I'm dragging this left, it kind of misses. I can find what is the darkest spot. And if I go on the right, I can show where the white ends, so I can find the last white drops there. And I can use these, and I can mark those spots, and I can use them on the image adjustments levels section. So let's go to the drag this one left, so we can see where are the darkest spots, and that's small tree there on the left. If I want to do it really, I just go all the way until I saw just one or two black spots there, zoom in and choose those, but I'll do it a little more coarsely. So I'll just find in, that's pretty nice, I can find the darkest spot there. And sample size, by default there's a point sample, so it just takes one pixel that you're hitting with your mouse. That's really hard, and you have to zoom in a lot to get the right thing. So take an average, 3.3 average or 5 pixels average. That way it's easier, so I'll just take 5 by 5. Then I press the shift button. My eyedropper gets a like a target there, and then I'll just go inside my darkest place and click, and you get a target and 1 there. Then I'll go drag this all the way to the right until I see just a little white there. And there it is. And same thing again, I'll just press shift and find my bright spot, and there's number 2. Now I have number 1 is my black spot, and number 2 is my white spot. So then I'll don't press OK here, otherwise it doesn't work. So press cancel, then go back to image adjustments and levels. And now you can see there's 1 and there's 2. So I'll just take the black point eyedropper and go inside the number 1 and click there, and then take white point and go inside 2 and click there, and then press OK. If you want to change the gray spot, you want to get it darker or lighter, you can do that one as well. I'm not gonna do that, so I'll just press OK. Now the color cast is kind of removed. If you compare this to the auto correction, it's pretty similar, but not quite, because on auto correction we also did the contrast and the color that we're going to do here as well. So next thing we're going to do in this picture is take image adjustments and work with for example brightness and contrast on top. So this is kind of where you can decide, are you working on, is it the morning, midday or evening on brightness and contrast. So I'm adding a little bit brightness there to get it more bright, and contrast, if I add contrast, the contrast between, it kind of finds the edges and increases the contrast. I want the contrast on this picture, I just drag it down a little bit to remove the contrast and press OK. Then I'll take another thing, image adjustments, and I can work with the shadows and highlights. What I did before, it works on mid-tones, about 75% of the pixels that are in the middle. If you want to work with the shadows and the highlights, so the darkest and brightest pixels, depending on tool you have the ways to get there. So I'll just take here shadows and highlights. It's basically looking like this. So you have the shadows and highlights amount percentage. If you click there, show more options, you get more. So you can change the amount, you can change the tone, and you can change the radius. It chooses between those shadows and highlights areas. So what I want to do here is just, I'll just turn, so the shadows are basically the dark areas in the forest, for example, and in trees. So if I put this one to 0, it kind of gets more dark, those areas, and if I put it 100, it kind of lighten up those areas. So I'll just turn them down. I want kind of the forest to be a little bit darker, so I'll just put it something like 20%. And same thing with the highlights. This only works with the pixels that are bright. So I'll just turn this one, I'll just turn to 0%. And also I can do color adjustment, but I'm not going to do it in this tool. These tools are, you can work on different things and same things from different tools, so kind of you have to decide where you're going to do it. Then press OK. Now it's pretty bright. And I can go to image adjustment and exposure, where I can kind of work with the exposure if I want it to be brighter or darker. And if I want to do the gamma correction, which is kind of general light related value. So I'm just adding a little bit exposure. You also get presets there if you want, but I'll just add a little bit exposure and turn down the gamma correction a little bit. And kind of you can do what kind of pleases your eye, so you don't have to really follow what I'm doing. Find the settings you like. Then just work on a little bit on the colors. So image adjustments, you have different ways to do it. There's color balance, let's take that one, and then after that we can take the vibrance. So image adjustments, color balance, and this one is working basically the same. It's based on the basic color modes. So RGB, red, green, blue is one that we're using for online graphics. If you're working on print colors, you work with SMUG. So cyan, magenta, yellow, and K is black. And these are kind of they work in the same way around the color circle, but they start from the different places, so they're kind of the opposite colors in a way. So what I want to do is here is I can turn if I want it to be more red or more, I'll just add more red a little bit. I want this to be warmer because I know the auto correction we did previously is pretty neutral, so I want to do this a little bit different. So I'll just add more red to get more warmth there. Green, magenta. There's a little bit green there on the birches, on the trees, so I'll just turn this a little bit to the left on the minus side to have kind of remove a little bit on the red there. And what about blue and yellow? If I go into blue, it starts to bring back the color cast we just removed, so I'll just put it a little bit on the yellow side. And again, I can work with the midtones, I can work with shadows, I can work with highlights separately. I'll just work with the midtones here to keep it simple. Now it's already looking different than the auto correction. Let's just add a little bit more there. So I'll just take image adjustment and vibrance. So here you can work with saturation, color saturation, and vibrance is kind of how lively the colors are. So I'll add a little bit more saturation. If I put it too much, it doesn't look natural, so I'll just put it like plus 15 or plus 20. And vibrance, I'll just add a little more vibrance. Again, if I put it too much, it doesn't look natural, so I'll just put what's plus 20 here as well. Press OK. That's it. This is the easy way to do it. The downside is when you're done with these effects, you really can't undo them unless you want to take edit, undo, or step backwards. That's why the adjustment layers are a really nice thing to do. But if we're comparing these ones, so I'll just close the other ones. So this was the original. This is the auto correction tool, pretty neutral, and this is manual correction I just did. to make it kind of a little more colorful, a little more like spring picture. Okay, let's close these and let's just click somewhere to remove the selection on the layer section. Let's make a folder there, or bin. So on the top right there's the add new bin, create new group button. I'll just create new group and just double click, rename that as adjustments, just like that. So the adjustment layers, they work on all the layers below them. So that's how I made the adjustments folder, so I can turn them on and off with one opening and closing the eye. So let's take the manual correction adjustment layers and just start adding adjustments there. So the process is just what we did previously on image adjustments. Now we can do it with adjustment layers, and we can just work them separately, remove them if we don't need them. So this one is selected. So let's start with the same thing. Let's take the levels adjustment there. I'm clicking it. It adjusts levels 1 just above my manual adjustment layer, and same thing, we have black and white buttons and the gray in the middle, so we know actually where it is. And if I'm selecting the sample image, I'll get the areas we selected previously. So I'll just click here, I'll take the white button and click number 2 here, and if I want to make it different from the auto and manual, so I'll just do that. I'll just take the gray a little bit right, so get it a little bit more darker, just like that. Then I click back on adjustments. I can also drag this adjustment to my new group that I made, so I'll just drag this inside my adjustments group. Next thing we need to do is take a next step, just like we did previously. So levels, I'll just take brightness contrast. Okay, it creates another adjustment layer there, and I'll take this into kind of more gloomy, more dark place. So I'll just drop down brightness a little bit, add more contrast, so it's kind of more into the night or nighttime picture, afternoon picture. Again, it's here. I'll just drag this layer to our adjustment group. It's there. What else? Let's take the color balance, and what I want to do, I'll just add a little bit more blue. I'll just remove red a little bit and kind of remove the green a little bit. Again, it's there. I'll drag this into the adjustments group. Let's do one more. Let's take the vibrance. So I'll just reduce the vibrance. I'll reduce the saturation a little bit. I drag this one into adjustments group as well. I also drag this manual correction adjustment layer into the same group. Make sure that this one is there on top of that group. So now I have 4 different things here. So this was the original. Then this was auto correction stuff. This was manual correction using the image adjustment, and then I have the adjustments group here where I have the manual correction and adjustment layers that I can just open and close separately or just all at once. So this is kind of the very basics of color correction. So go through the rest of the tutorials and you basically need to practice. And always think of what kind of feeling, what kind of atmosphere you want to give to the spectators of this picture and work on based on that. Have fun.